Welcome to What's Really Going On. We're here to give you the ultimate knowledge shortcut, saving you time, sanity, and maybe that embarrassing little vacation fund you keep pouring money into.
That's right. And our mission today is, well, it's pretty laser focused.
We're going to completely dismantle the vacuous vice of physical travel. Specifically, we're talking about the modern, frankly, pointless act of tourism.
The whole premise we're working from is simple, it's stark, and it is, I have to say, utterly unforgiving.
So what is it?
Why, in this hyper-connected, visually saturated age we live in, are you still moving? Why are you going anywhere?
Right. We're here today to expose that impulse, that itch to travel as the ultimate symptom of an internal disorder.
And we're going to use the sharpest philosophical, historical, and of course economic arguments available to prove that travel is really for the travailed. It's for the troubled.
The reality you think you're searching for out there, it's already within you. You're too busy forking over vast, non-refundable amounts of cash to find what? A mediocre sunset.
A sunset you could have seen online, perfectly airbrushed, perfectly lit, for free.
Exactly. Physical movement for the sake of, novelty is, to be blunt, trite.
It's a completely redundant vice in the vast, accessible virtual reality we now inhabit.
And this redundancy, this pointlessness, it's not an accident.
Oh no, it's entirely intentional. The entire structure of the global tourist industry exists for one primary purpose.
Which is?
To hone you from your home.
Hone you from your home.
It's a mechanism of extraction disguised as exploration. It's designed to separate you from your money.
So today we're going to explore why the mandate to go nowhere and be now here isn't a sign of laziness or, indolence.
No, it is the ultimate, most profound life hack for anyone who realizes that everything they're seeking abroad is already available infinitely right inside their own consciousness.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. Let's establish the central, and I have to say, pretty damning philosophical critique right out of the gate. And it's a harsh one.
It is. The idea is this. Most movement is not motivated by genuine intellectual curiosity. It's motivated by mania.
Mania, that's a strong word.
It is. But that feverish, restless desire you feel to book the next trip, to just go somewhere, anywhere else.
Yeah.
Our argument is that it's merely rash, rabid running around to relieve an inner disease.
So you're saying it's the precise opposite of true stability. If you're struggling with your internal landscape, or maybe you're feeling disconnected from who you are or where you are,
then introducing frantic, unnecessary motion into your life is the single most counterproductive step you can possibly take.
the ancient wisdom seems clear on this. There's this almost universal directive, isn't there? It echoes across so many philosophies.
It does, and it basically says, be still and know that everything you need is already within you.
So this neurotic desire to flee, it really suggests you have nothing worth staying for at home.
And therefore, you bring nothing of value to your destination. You're just an empty vessel moving from one place to another, hoping the scenery will fill you up.
But hold on, is it really fair to call that internal restlessness mania? I mean, sometimes people just feel a genuine, maybe even a biological imperative to see new landscapes, to change their visual field. Isn't that just human curiosity?
It's a question of scale and intensity. Of course, curiosity exists. But when that desire becomes so acute that it necessitates destroying your savings, enduring extreme discomfort, and polluting the entire planet,
Okay.
it ceases to be curiosity and it becomes compulsion. This type of constant movement is nothing more than neurotic noise. It's an attempt to externalize a conflict that absolutely must be resolved internally.
And you're saying we only need to look at the history of the language to see how the industry views this compulsion.
Absolutely. If you doubt even for a second that the tourism machine views you as a manufactured product rather than some organic seeker of knowledge, we just need to do a little linguistic deconstruction.
Okay, let's do it. So the word tourist itself, it only appeared in what, 1772?
And tourism in 1811, they're relatively new concepts, but the root of the word tour, that goes way back.
Right, back to its mechanical origins.
Precisely. The word descends from the Old French tourner, which is itself a direct derivative of the Latin word tournere.
And if you look up the literal definition of tourner,
You will find it means, completely unambiguously, to turn on a lathe.
a lathe, that's an incredible and frankly devastating metaphor.
It's not even a metaphor, it's the literal origin. The tourist is, by definition, someone being shaped, spun, or turned by an industry designed purely for profit.
So you think you're an intrepid explorer, but you're really just a piece of wood on a machine.
You are a manufactured product of movement, following preset lines and itineraries that someone else has created for you.
The irony is just staggering. You're claiming to seek authenticity and freedom.
And in doing so, you're engaging in an experience that is entirely programmed. If the industry is turning you on a lathe, it is dictating your shape, your speed, and your eventual destination.
You are being honed from your home, like we said, stripped of your wealth, and then returned.
Returned may be slightly different on the surface, but fundamentally unchanged in consciousness. Just poorer.
This etymological insight, it perfectly captures the inherent pointlessness of the whole venture. You're just being spun around for profit.
Nothing more than a profitable moving part in a vast global machine.
This framing really helps to understand tourism as something, well, mechanical, predictable, and utterly lacking in any genuine spontaneity or profundity.
The destination is prepackaged, the experience is pre-approved, it is conformity disguised as adventure.
And this manufactured motion, it brings us to the harsh, modern reality, which is that tourism, as we practice it today, is fundamentally a Victorian pursuit.
And one that is now totally obsolete and, frankly, utterly redundant in the age of fiber optics and VR headsets.
It's entirely obsolete. I mean, the philosophical justification for physical movement, it just vanished the moment we could digitize and transmit high-fidelity sensory data.
Well, why would you endure the discomfort, the security lines, the jet lag, the expense, and the devastating ecological damage? Why?
When mental exploration is not just cheaper, but in many ways infinitely superior.
We have fully arrived at the age of the Kuchtstrecke.
I love that term, Kuchtstrecke.
It perfectly describes the enlightened individual who recognizes they can get all the fun of the fair from the comfort of their armchair.
It's an embrace of the value of mental exploration over physical exhaustion. The old saying about the mountain coming to Muhammad.
It's no longer just a metaphor, it's a technological reality. We can bring the world to us.
So think about what you actually gain from moving. Mainly, it's exhaustion, stress, and a seriously depleted bank account.
Whereas what you gain from stillness is presence, mental acuity, and a profound engagement with the reality you actually inhabit every single day.
The idea that you need to physically relocate to experience something it's an absurdity.
An absurdity perpetuated by companies that rely on your movement to survive. The Kuchtstrecke, by refusing to engage in this manufactured motion, proves themselves to be the truly organic seeker of knowledge.
And this idea that we should abandon the external search, it's not some new, cynical, post-internet philosophy, is it?
Not at all. This critique of compulsive movement is centuries old. The philosophical heavyweights of antiquity, they laid down this ancient mandate to stay put.
Why?
Because the external goose chase is fundamentally pointless if the internal house is in disarray.
They understood that the most exciting, most complex, and honestly most dangerous place you could ever explore is your own mind.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for a profound philosophical gut punch on this topic, few figures deliver it with the precision of St. Augustine.
He gives us the double punch that should make any modern traveler immediately cancel their reservations.
The first part is, seek not abroad, turn back into yourself, for within dwells the truth.
That statement, it's delivered with such clarity and insistence. It's like he knew people would immediately ignore it and just start looking outside themselves.
And then he highlights the tragic, profound irony of the tourist mindset. He says people travel to wonder at the height of the mountains, at the huge waves of the seas, at the circular motion of the stars.
And yet they pass by themselves without wondering.
That is the ultimate failure of curiosity, isn't it?
It really is. You are this complex, miraculous universe. You contain, 100 trillion cells, an entire history of evolution and neuronal activity more complex than any known machine.
Yet you treat this astonishing mechanism with the casual indifference of, plain furniture.
While spending thousands of dollars to look at a slightly bigger pile of old rocks or a slightly wetter ocean.
It just makes you wonder. If you can't be bothered to explore the sheer complexity and astonishing depth of your own existence, why on earth do you genuinely believe that simply changing your latitude will magically increase your capacity for perspective?
You just carry your small, uncurious mind with you, regardless of the exotic stamps in your passport.
And Seneca, the Stoic, he drives home a similar really powerful critique. He argues fiercely against the mind becoming a bondsman to any one place or any restless desire for motion.
What was his quote?
He said, "The person you are matters more than the place to which you go. For that reason, we should not make the mind a bondsman to any one place." And then he says, Live in this belief. This whole world is in my heart.
The whole world is in my heart. That is a truly profound spiritual and psychological command.
It tells you that externalizing your spiritual bankruptcy by buying a plane ticket is, well, it's a fool's errand. If you truly accept that command, then the urge to rush across continents simply dissolves.
You're already there.
You're already there. And then you have Socrates, the ultimate purist, who crystallized the principle into a brutal aphorism.
Which was?
Weak minds crave places, strong minds crave principles.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's direct. So if you feel a constant gnawing compulsion to leave, it's not because the destination is alluring.
It's because your interior life is weak, underdeveloped, and lacks guiding principles.
So if a strong mind craves principles, how do we train our minds to focus on the principles that are available right here and now?
This is where the superior spiritual alternative lies. Just being here now. We need to stop going there and start being here.
We even see this command in popular culture. There's that famous image of the geometric chair surrounded by the repeated, powerful mandate, remember, be here now.
It's an undeniable visual command to just cease your restless, neurotic movement.
And the realization that the Zion that I cannot find is known to my subconscious mind. It's more than just poetry, isn't it?
It's a powerful statement about neurological reality. True peace is internally generated. We are always, already present. You don't need to chase it on the other side of the planet. You just need to stop running from the discomfort of your own presence.
We all know the cliche, right? Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and right now is a gift, which is why they call it the present.
But we utterly fail to apply that simple truth to travel. Instead of seeking novelty, we should be seeking presence.
And the most effective vacation you can possibly take is one that involves no movement whatsoever.
Vipassana. This is pure internal exploration. It's an intensely focused confrontation with the self. If you can handle a 10-day Vipassana retreat confronting your inner disease head-on,
You'll find more peace, perspective, and genuine fulfillment than you ever could wandering through airports and tourist traps.
which brings us to the core and rather scathing analysis of why 99% of people actually travel.
It's nothing but every action.
It's a specialized psychological term, so we should probably define it clearly before we get to the insult.
Go for it.
Every action is the process of attempting to discharge repressed emotion or trauma through frantic action or acting out.
So in the context of travel,
The material we're looking at views 99% of human activity, including tourism, as manic cycling. A rash, rabid running around designed specifically to relieve that inner disease. It's a discharge mechanism and nothing more.
so it's not exploration, it's self-medication through frantic motion.
Exactly. The travel industry is essentially a vast global pharmacy dispensing temporary external distractions to people who refuse to confront their internal issues.
If you were truly happy, stable, and satisfied with your principles and your environment, you wouldn't feel the compulsion to frantically seek diversion every few months.
A flight to a far-flung land doesn't cure inner disease, it just delays the inevitable confrontation.
And Data-Free John delivers the final, perfect, uncompromising insult to those caught in this trap.
He says, travel is trivial to true men, but a tremendous treat to terror-tethered troglodytes.
That is harsh. Calling someone a terror-tethered troglodyte is designed to cut deep.
It is, but it's meant to shock you into realizing the absurdity.
Does the material ever concede that there might be a legitimate, practical reason for physical movement? Maybe for genuine work
Right.
or family, rather than simple mania?
Of course, it concedes that necessary movement exists. Economic survival, military deployment, essential aid work. That's not what we're talking about.
We're dismantling tourism. The neurotic movement of leisure.
Exactly. The industry has successfully convinced millions of otherwise rational people to become, as he puts it, terra-tethered troglodytes.
People so tethered to the ground by their own lack of internal elevation?
That they have to move physically to feel anything at all. That level of marketing hypnosis is the true target of the disdain. It's unapologetic and, based on the historical precedent, entirely accurate.
Okay, so to understand how this modern pointless tourism achieved this level of psychological hypnosis, we have to look at its origins.
We have to look at the Grand Tour. This was the ultimate historical goose chase, flourishing in Europe from about 1660 until the 1820s.
And it laid the blueprint for how to waste resources and time on organized manufactured motion.
And crucially, the Grand Tour was not for the masses. This is an arduous, mandatory rite of passage strictly for wealthy, young, British upper-class men, the nascent elite, the ones destined to run the country.
Later on, women were permitted, but only if they were chaperoned by a a severe spinster aunt.
Right, explicitly to ensure the trip remained educational and not, heaven forbid, enjoyable.
The itinerary itself sounds less like a vacation and more like a cruel and unusual punishment.
It was a rigorous academic and cultural obstacle course that could last anywhere from 6 months to several years.
It began with the simple, stressful crossing from Dover to Calais, followed by the logistical nightmare of acquiring a custom coach.
A coach which you then had to insure, manage, and often resell at a huge loss at the end of the trip.
Then came the infamous, brutal crossing of the Alps. This wasn't a leisurely drive in a comfortable bus.
No. In that era, the wealthy travelers often had to have their carriages and their vast amounts of luggage completely dismantled.
And carried over the treacherous terrain by local servants or mountaineers.
The sheer inconvenience and physical labor involved for dozens of support staff just to get one aristocrat to look at some cultural artifacts, it's just staggering.
It really highlights the profound waste of human energy to facilitate one man's so-called education.
Once across the mountains, the tourist would commence the serious work. Months were spent in Florence studying Renaissance art and language, then on to Rome for classical ruins.
And if they were truly ambitious, they might venture south to Naples to see the newly discovered Pompeii, or even ascend the unpredictable slopes of Mount Vesuvius for dramatic flair.
The whole thing was meticulously documented, sketched, and analyzed before the slow, exhausting return journey north through Germany and Holland.
So what was the philosophical justification for this immense, resource-intensive movement?
It was rooted deeply in the philosophical theories of the age, particularly John Locke's essay concerning human understanding, which was published in 1690.
Right, Locke's empiricism. The idea that all knowledge comes from external senses. You were born a tabula rasa, a blank slate.
So the prevailing logic was that if you remained in one place for too long, you would use up all the local stimuli, thereby stagnating your intellectual development.
So physical travel, the introduction of new sensory inputs, became unbelievably an obligation to society for anyone who wanted to be considered educated or fully developed.
Just think about the profound absurdity of that for a moment. A generation of young men spent their fortunes and years of their lives on this arduous travel.
Simply to fulfill a philosophical theory that now, thanks to the internet, is entirely redundant.
We can access infinite novel sensory information in high definition, instantly, from the comfort of home. The philosophical mandate for physical travel died centuries ago, but the mania persists.
And what was the ultimate tangible outcome of the Grand Tour?
It was a clear, unambiguous vehicle for conspicuous consumption. These travelers returned not enlightened, but laden with crates full of art books, commissioned portraits, statues, and expensive curiosities.
The purpose was to display this prestige in their British drawing rooms, proving their wealth and sophistication.
It was about acquisition, not enlightenment. It was a status game.
And even back in the 18th century, the critics saw right through the vanity and the self-delusion.
One contemporary critic called the tour a paltry thing, a tame, uniform, unvaried prospect.
It didn't actually broaden minds, it just reinforced existing prejudices.
The satirical travel guides of the time, like The Complete Gentleman from 1678, they just codified the national stereotypes. French, courteous; Spanish, lordly; Italian, amorous; German, clownish.
So travel, even then, broadened nothing but the spectrum of exotic diseases you might contract and the debt you might accrue.
The Grand Tour simply codified the modern, organized, pointless tourist industry we see today.
And we see this legacy packaged in the most sickeningly sentimental Hollywood propaganda.
Oh, we absolutely must reserve a special critique for the bucket list. That film was nothing more than a highly effective, deeply cynical tourist industry propaganda exercise.
It successfully convinced masses of people who frankly had zero business leaving their armchair, who should have been managing their diabetes or their retirement funds.
That the only way to find meaning before death was to burn a colossal hole in their savings account and the ozone layer.
It's an incredibly manipulative message. That places bring peace, when in reality, peace can only be found within. It's an advertisement for the worst kind of abreaction.
So if the Grand Tour was the historical prototype for pointless movement, the technological future provides the ultimate undeniable counterargument.
Which is?
The future is profound stillness, because future travel will be entirely mental, rendering physical movement utterly primitive.
Primitive is too kind. We're still reliant on burning compressed dinosaurs in metal tubes, enduring discomfort and pollution just to see things that have already been perfectly digitized.
It is the height of inefficiency. Technology futurist Ray Kurzweil predicts, and this is key, that future travel will be mental. That's where the novelty, the stimulation, and the development will occur.
And even the arbiters of high culture understood this internal superiority. Karl Lagerfeld, who had the means to go absolutely anywhere, gave us the perfect summary.
He said, fantasy is often better than reality. It's much more inspiring not to go to places than to go. Why settle for the limitations of physical reality when the mind can construct perfection?
This leads directly to the prediction that virtual and meta-reality experiences will soon be far better, more neuronally stimulating than physical reality.
Think about it. Why would you queue for 3 hours in 100-degree heat to see a polluted, crowded landmark when a virtual environment can offer you pristine, personalized, multisensory stimulation that is designed specifically to maximize your neuronal engagement?
If the virtual can stimulate your brain more effectively, if it removes the discomfort, the expense, and the ecological cost, then the physical journey becomes an exercise in masochism.
There will simply be no rational reason to physically go anywhere.
And this brings us back to the power of the mind and that core concept of abreaction. The true Cooch Trekka knows they can initiate that psychological discharge and sensory exploration internally.
Think of the simple anecdote, just laying on a hammock, closing your eyes and imagining yourself to be in Costa Rica, Barbados, Dubai, Ghana, Australia, Thailand, or Fiji.
Your mind can effortlessly conjure the sensory details of the destination. You get the perceived novelty, the relaxation, and the mental shift.
Without the inevitable man-eating insects, the jet lag, or the risk of a plane crash.
It's the recognition that the power of now, combined with a functioning imagination, is the greatest and cheapest travel tool available.
But for those who crave the ultimate frontier literal space exploration data-free, John offers a comparison so scathing it should humiliate the modern traveler and the billionaire who funds them.
We have to look at the so-called more money than sense billionaire bonobos who are convinced that space is the new Spain.
They are squandering billions of dollars on physical movement into low orbit, engaging in a glorified, dangerous tourist jaunt when the true spiritual and cosmic explorers have been traversing the cosmos for millennia with vastly simpler, cheaper technology.
And data-free John delivers the absolute brutal takedown of this modern vanity.
He says, we moderns think we're so super cool and high-tech because we travel around the world in planes, but the so-called primitive peoples have been traveling around the fucking universe with naught but a bag of dried mushrooms in their loincloth for 2 millennia while lying down. Go fucking figure, fanboy.
The comparison is just. It's irrefutable and devastating in its simplicity.
Why are we spending billions on space tourism when we have known internal technologies, astral projection, deep meditative states that access the universe without the carbon footprint, the risk of explosion, or the astronomical price tag?
The cost differential is the punchline that should make every rational person weep. You can spend 30,000 pounds or billions on physical, risky space tourism.
Or you can achieve true immersive cosmic travel, the ability to travel the universe with simple tools. The material is absolutely clear on this.
3 to 5 grams of dried mushrooms, call it space dust, and a float tank, your personal spaceship, does it much better.
The internal journey costs effectively $0, or perhaps $40 for the requisite materials, compared to the external waste.
In this contrast between extravagant waste and internal efficiency, it leads us directly to the socio-economic indictment.
The reality check provided by Gil Scott-Heron in his biting poem and song, Whitey on the Moon. This brings the critique of wasted resources right back to Earth, literally.
The message is a moral one.
Yeah.
While resources are being poured into these luxurious, unnecessary movements, whether it's a grand tour to Florence, a flight to Bali, or a suborbital joyride.
Fundamental societal needs are being ignored. Scott-Heron describes the reality. A rat done bit my sister now, can't pay doctor bills, rent is up, no hot water, no toilets, no lights.
But the response from the privileged is, Whitey's on the moon.
This links expensive tourism and unnecessary exploration directly to a catastrophic failure of resource allocation and social justice. We are distracted by the spectacle of outward movement.
Look at the glamorous tourist destination. Look, we're conquering space.
While ignoring the urgent human problems right here on the ground.
It raises the inescapable question. Was all that money I made last year for Whitey on the moon? How come there ain't no money here?
If society continues to allocate massive resources to support the neurotic movement of the privileged, while basic human infrastructure and needs go unmet, the moral indictment of pointless travel and the industry that profits from it is complete.
It's not just wasteful, it is fundamentally immoral.
Now we arrive at the definitive, undeniable, and comprehensive proof that the desire to roam is driven by deep-seated stupidity and neurosis. This is the master list.
Okay, we're going through the 10 reasons why physical travel, especially tourism, is a complete waste of time, money, and sanity.
And we're going to spend time on this list because the tourist propaganda machine works tirelessly to convince you these drawbacks are just adventures.
They are not. They are unnecessary burdens that prove your madness. Let's start with the argument that should matter to every single person: money.
Number one, expense. Travel is wildly, catastrophically expensive. We aren't talking about cheap bus fares here.
No, we're talking about flights, visas, constantly fluctuating currency exchanges, overpriced substandard accommodation, tours, and the sheer necessity of having to eat every single meal out.
All of this drains finances that could be used for sensible, life-stabilizing investments.
It's truly astounding. You might convince yourself that you are being financially savvy by, say, flying to Southeast Asia and eating cheap local food.
But the total package, the $2,000 flight, the travel insurance, the gear, the unexpected border fees, it far outweighs the perceived savings on a cheap meal.
And let's be honest, you don't know what you're eating anyway. It's an illusion of saving money wrapped in an expensive package of debt, often financed by credit cards, crippling your future for a temporary moment of external validation.
That money could go toward a down payment on a home, a more reliable car, or perhaps most rationally, robust long-term retirement savings that guarantee security instead of fleeting Instagram photos.
The economic justification for tourism is non-existent. It is always a net negative on your long-term stability. The cost alone should be a complete deterrent for any rational mind.
Moving on to a deeper psychological critique. Number two, travel damages your imagination and mental acuity.
The argument here is that long-term, restless travel is actually giving a finger to your own imagination.
If every time you feel frustrated, bored, or psychologically stagnant, your default reaction is to run away looking for external diversion, you prevent the crucial process of self-confrontation that leads to genuine growth.
It's a failure to know thyself. If you lack curiosity at home, if you are incapable of finding wonder in the mundane complexity of your own environment,
A new location isn't suddenly going to unlock your capacity for perspective. You just bring your same small, unengaged mind with you.
travel becomes a crutch, an escape mechanism that keeps you perpetually mentally immature because you avoid the discomfort of stillness required for profound internal work.
The moment you feel the urge to flee, that is the moment you should sit down, be still, and write down exactly why you feel so compelled to move. That confrontation is the true adventure.
The plane ticket is the coward's way out.
And this brings us to the existential, unforgivable sin of tourism. Number three, travel destroys the environment. This is the critical, undeniable indictment that should halt every rational person in their tracks.
We are talking about the sheer volume of movement.
Yeah.
Over 100,000 commercial airline trips per day globally.
That's 38 million flights per year, consuming an astonishing 275 billion liters of aviation fuel annually. The environmental damage is massive and instantaneous.
So we have to ask the question pointedly, without reservation. What is so fundamentally and tragically wrong with your neighborhood, your job, or your internal life that you feel you absolutely must pollute our planet just to get your kicks?
The emissions from just one long-haul flight can eclipse the annual carbon footprint of individuals in many developing nations. James Lovelock, the originator of the Gaia theory, stated it simply and brutally: your holiday is costing the Earth.
When you engage in mass tourism, you are actively prioritizing your temporary neurotic need for external diversion over the long-term collective health of the only planet we inhabit.
The tourist is, by definition, an ecological villain.
Okay, next up. Number 4. Travel doesn't actually teach you anything truly profound.
The core argument here is that the ability to learn is an internal trait, not a geographically dependent one. If you are truly smart enough, observant enough, and intellectually disciplined enough to learn profound lessons from your experiences on the road,
You would already be learning profound lessons right at home.
if your mind is closed, distracted, or focused only on superficial novelty in your living room, it remains closed on the Great Wall of China. True learning is a function of perspective and intellectual openness, not latitude.
Tourists see exactly what they expect to see, confirming their biases and reinforcing the superficial images they saw in the brochure. They rarely learn anything that couldn't have been gleaned from a well-written book or documentary.
Which leads us to the modern, pragmatic reality check. Number 5. Travel is now totally redundant in the internet age.
We have to ask why anyone would endure the hassle and expense of physically going to see, say, the Taj Mahal, when there are thousands of high-definition images, 360-degree videos, and incredibly detailed articles available instantly online.
Other people have already been there, documented it, analyzed it, and curated the best possible views for you. Why subject yourself to the crowds, the smog, the ticket lines, and the stress?
And the harsh reality is that when you finally arrive at the real-life, unairbrushed, sacred Shangri-La, you'll find it to be anything but.
It's polluted, crowded, often smaller than you imagined, and certainly less magical than the idealized promotional footage. The real-life experience inevitably disappoints the imagination.
Number 6 is one we ignore at our peril. Number 6, travel is dangerous.
People willfully, aggressively forget the sheer number of hazards they voluntarily expose themselves to the second they leave their perfectly safe, controlled domestic environment.
We are talking about non-trivial risks. Plane crashes, coach crashes on poorly maintained roads, the high risk of petty crime, kidnappings in unstable regions.
The increasing threat of suicide attacks or civil unrest, and of course, natural calamities like tsunamis or earthquakes, which you are completely unprepared to face when you are dislocated.
Your money is exponentially better spent investing in robust home security and protecting your family, rather than voluntarily entering zones of instability and unpredictable calamity just to take a few snapshots.
It is reckless self-endangerment.
And if danger doesn't deter you, maybe sheer discomfort will. Number 7, travel is fundamentally uncomfortable.
Why exactly are you volunteering to sign up for 20 hours crammed into a tube of recycled air, enduring someone else's questionable coughs?
Why do you pay hundreds of dollars to sleep in someone else's often bad bed, under suspect sheets, fighting off nasty insects, suffering through mystery sicknesses, and struggling with unbearable heat and humidity you aren't acclimatized to?
Are you mad? The entire endeavor, from the cramped seat to the inevitable bout of traveler's diarrhea, is an exercise in pure masochism masked as adventure.
The moment you step outside the controlled environment of your home, you relinquish control over your comfort, your safety, and your digestive tract, all for a temporary, fleeting distraction.
All right, number 8 deals with the gastronomic roulette you willingly play. Number 8, you don't know what you're eating abroad.
The simple, unvarnished truth is that foreign people eat all sorts of things that you, the comfortable Westerner, would probably find repulsive or shocking.
Our sources remind us that in some places, local delicacies include guinea pigs, in others snails or worms, or even in less sensitive areas, dogs.
And if you can't read the menu, if you cannot ask detailed questions about preparation, how do you truly know what they are putting on your plate?
It's a constant game of gastric roulette that you only play because you feel a ridiculous self-imposed social obligation to try the local flavor, regardless of the risk to your stomach lining or your moral sensibilities.
Next, the barrier that destroys all chances of genuine connection. Number 9, the language barrier is a constant, anxiety-inducing hassle.
Why would you travel thousands of miles just to intentionally find yourself struggling, frustrated, and unable to articulate even the most basic needs or desires?
It's hard enough trying to have a deep, meaningful conversation with people who can speak your language, understand your cultural references, and share your fundamental premises.
Traveling to a place where communication requires frantic pointing, miming, or relying on clumsy phone apps is just adding layers of unnecessary anxiety and intellectual fatigue. It isolates you further, reinforcing the fact that you are an outsider, merely observing, not truly participating.
And finally, the sum total of all the others. Number 10, it's just too much hassle. The logistics alone are dreadful. Just thinking about the bureaucracy is enough to induce a panic attack.
We're talking about airport security screening, which gets more invasive and ridiculous every year. The constant threat of unexpected delays due to ash clouds or weather, the necessity of changing currency, the endless procession of passports and visas and vaccination cards.
Travel is an awful faff. Where is the pleasure in self-inflicted stress?
As you age, you lose the energy and patience for this logistical nightmare. Staying at home means everything is already ordered, comfortable, and understandable. The logistics of travel alone prove the endeavor is driven by desperation, not desire.
We have to conclude this uncompromising indictment now by turning to the undeniable power of stillness. The ancient wisdom provides the perfect, tranquil remedy for the modern mania of movement.
The Taoist perspective, channeled through Lao Tzu, proves the argument against pointless externalization.
He provides the ultimate philosophical counterpoint to the restless tourist. He states quite profoundly, "Without opening your door, you can know the whole world."
And further, the sage doesn't need to travel around. Why? Because he can still understand. The implication is clear. The more aggressively you seek knowledge externally, the less you will genuinely understand internally.
Stillness, the ability to reside comfortably within oneself, is the standard of activity. If you compulsively abandon yourself to restlessness and neurotic travel, you lose touch with your roots.
You lose connection with the present moment, and you entirely lose the basis of your internal power. The true philosophical retreat happens not in Bali or the Roman countryside, but immediately within your own mind.
Marcus Aurelius, the ultimate internal traveler, nailed this concept when discussing the philosophical retreat.
People waste time and money searching for retreats in the country or the remote hills, but this, he notes, is entirely unphilosophical when you possess an infinitely superior option.
And that option is?
There is nowhere that a person can find a more peaceful and trouble-free retreat than in my own mind. You can retreat into yourself at any time, instantly, without a visa or a flight delay.
The ultimate irony of the obsessed traveler is beautifully captured by what we call the Martian mindset. This is the counterintuitive idea, heavily explored by thinkers like Elaine de Botton.
That true discovery only happens when you apply the external observer's eye to your home environment.
The Martian mindset means being receptive, approaching new places, even your own suburb, with humility and noticing the unremarkable small details.
Tourists, when they're abroad, are forced to be hyper-observant. They notice the weirdness of foreign traffic islands, the layout of a local menu, the inscription on a government building.
But at home, people become habituated and therefore blind. They ignore the astounding complexity of their own environment. They seek outside what they willfully ignore daily.
Tibetan suggests that to stop being a tourist, sometimes all you have to do is start standing still. Stop treating your life like a dull backdrop and look at it with the critical, eager eye of someone who just flew 10,000 miles to see it.
And Henry Miller summarizes the only legitimate trip a human can take.
He said, "One's destination is never a place, but a new way of seeing." Travel is not about leaving your home. It's about leaving your habits. If you crave transformation, change your state of mind, not your scenery.
The soul is no traveler. The wise person stays at home. And this brings us to the self-contained perfection utopia.
Why chase foreign beaches when you are, in fact, an island unto yourself? An infinitely more perfect one than any resort could ever offer.
Explain that.
Imagine your true self. The sun shining upon you is your divinely enlightened disposition. The warm waves washing your shores are your iron-rich, life-giving bloodstream. The soft sand between your toes is your body's finely tuned neuronal field.
And the perfectly harmonious population of soulmates you seek.
Those are your 100 trillion cells operating in magnificent synchronicity.
That, my friend, is utopia. A self-contained, constantly renewing, endlessly complex paradise. You're infinitely returning, yet eternally, always already arrived. The quest to move is the ultimate distraction from the reality that you are already perfect, exactly where you are.
So let's wrap this up, because we've given you the unvarnished, hard truth backed by philosophy, history, and economics. We have definitively established that physical travel, specifically tourism, is a colossal waste of cash, carbon, and cranial capacity.
It is motivated entirely by a desperate, futile attempt to abreact, to outrun your own mediocrity, and to fulfill a philosophical mandate that was rendered obsolete the moment the internet was invented.
If you are bored, the world isn't big. Your mind is small. Expand your mind, and you won't need to go anywhere. We carry within us all we seek without us.
Now consider this final mind-bending thought, the longest, most exotic journey you can imagine to anywhere on the face of the globe. That flight to the Maldives, that road trip through Patagonia,
Is a mere fly in the eye compared to the journey you're actually making right now as your planet hurtles through deepest space silently at 66,000 miles per hour.
You are traveling the universe right now for free in the most sophisticated self-contained vehicle imaginable. You are already in the center of the greatest possible adventure.
So focus on that astonishing reality.
Look, we know the industry has hypnotized you. We know you're sitting there in your armchair, probably still dreaming of a beach you'll regret paying for. You don't need a beach. You need to wake up.
But since you're already here and proving you're at least curious enough to listen to the truth, you might as well prove you're not a total, terror-tethered troglodyte.
Hit the like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell for more essential truth, and leave a comment below explaining why, despite the expense, the ecological damage, and the profound discomfort, you are still determined to keep poisoning the planet just to eat foreign junk food.
Go nowhere. Be now here. Thank you for joining us for What's Really Going On.